Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Paranormal Karen. First of all, today's episode is phenomenal. We have Monique Pliakos, right? Didn't I say it right? I got it?
Close, Pliakos.
Pliakos.
But you know what, Karen? You can say it any way you want, and I love you no matter what.
You're the best. She's going to be talking about self-care, and probably just her and I talking about stuff. And then I also have my friend Lauren on for the last part of the show. Going to talk about it's a special part. It's a friend of mine, and I was like, you know what? That's not quite paranormal, but we need to have it on the show because I'm talking about art and creation so much. So this podcast right here is very upbeat, self-help, that kind of stuff. But I want you to know, everybody, I'm making a special effort this year. I'm going to bring the scary back to Paranormal Karen. I don't feel like I was very scary last year. And it's actually beginning with next week's episode with Richard Sugg, who is one of my favorite English guys. Have you had Richard Sugg on your show?
I have not, but I love him.
Oh, he's great. And he really started digging deep into ghosts and stuff. So next week's we're back on our scary, and I have, we're going to mix it up a little more. And also, folks, don't forget about the Patreon and, Patreon.com/Rontowski, having a great time with the podcast, extra episodes, and also $5 a month helps me out and gives me, and those episodes are fun. And then if you want to learn tarot, come on too. We have a great tarot community, and I think that's it. Okay, so Monique, my favorite hypnotist, tarot reader. I have called you in an emergency. Can you pull a card? All the things that you do. The podcast is called The Home Wrecker. Fantastic. You've been on my show. How long have we known each other? 3-4 years?
Yeah, it's been about that. And I found you because I heard your podcast.
Oh.
And yeah, I heard your podcast. And I reached out to you, and you were just so wonderful and amazing. And I have to say, I think that this is something common with your listeners, that you just have this welcoming and warm energy. Aww. That just, for a lot of people like myself who always felt like they didn't fit in, they didn't belong, and had nowhere to go, you've created a place where it's like, I feel like I fit here. Oh, and that was like one of the first times I ever felt like, this is all my stuff.
Oh, awesome.
And I'm not ridiculed or made fun of for it or look like something's wrong with me.
No, thank you for that. And it's kind of funny because you were probably like me, and probably a lot of my listeners. You know what else? My listeners are incredibly talented also. Like, I feel like there's a bunch of them that just, sometimes people will email me what they do. And if I can fit them on the show, and then I'm like, oh my God, this is a great guest. You know what I mean? Like they're
amazing.
Yes. And they do all kinds of things. So I love I'm even flattered at how like talented the people are that listen to my podcast. So anyways, where was I going with this? Oh, I feel like, I think it's out there now. Like, I feel like for a while it was probably, I always get surprised when people look at me cross-eyed or like, you do what? But yeah. I think it's getting out there now. So I'm so glad everybody feels at home. That's all we want, right?
Well, that's the thing. When I first started reading tarot, and one of the things that you're not prepared for is when you're right. And you expect, like, if you're wrong, it's like, oh, okay. But when you're right and people aren't used to that, people get freaked out. Like, how did you know that?
Yes, they do. That's right.
and it's like this invasion of privacy. Mm-hmm. And then, they start thinking like, what's wrong with you? Like, how did you know that? And it gets very accusatory, and that kind of puts up walls. And I think like we have to be so supportive of each other. One of the things that I'll mention is, so I was on your show for the predictions. Mm-hmm. I did my tarot reading for the year. And one of the things that started happening after that show, after we recorded, was people that I haven't heard from in a while reaching out to me. And I kept getting these messages like, this is the time, this is the year we need to come together more. We need to, like, healers, psychics, we need to come together and help each other and be there for those who are ready for what's going to happen. It's like we need to like form like a super group of, hey, we're here, we're working together, we're helping each other, and so we can help others.
I love that. And I just whispered because, so if people thought it was a EVP, I went, yes. And I don't know why I did it like that, because I know better. But I usually have, your sound is great. I usually have so many sound issues. I'm like, that wasn't an EVP. You know, I think you are right on this. And, I just had a conversation with Tommy about something where I was like, do you think that's spiritual warfare? And it was something else. But for a minute, we were both like, I was like, did I ask that question? Like, I think you're correct. And there's another thing, and I think a couple of people, and it may have even been you, predicted this, and I see it coming, which is attacks on, it's going to be, they're going to go after, I want to say the fake gurus, and I don't even have anybody to put in that category because I don't know. Like if I see something on TikTok and I'm like, meh, I just scroll by. I don't, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like when people really attack Teal Swan, and I will be honest with you, I did not see the documentary, but the reason I didn't see it is because those people that shot it lived with her for 3 years and lied to her face for 3 years. She may be as awful as they say, but so are they. And I was like, I don't trust the people that made it either. You know what I mean?
Well, I wasn't the one who talked about that, but I listened to the show and everyone on there, and they're all so amazing. But when those things came up, I've been saying for years, beware false prophets.
Yes.
And in the day and age where, and this is going to come up with the self-care, we are surrounded by social media where most of it is fake.
Yes.
I mean, you see the places these people, like the cars they have, the bathrooms or kitchens they have. You really think that's their house? Robin Leach on the Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous has even said, and people on the show have even said, yeah, that wasn't my house. That was somebody else's. And we just used it and pretended it was ours. And it's all about an illusion. And so when you're having all these illusions that like, this is the status and this is what people need, your mind starts thinking, oh, okay, this is what I need. It's basically like a type of subliminal programming that we need to undo, because it happened to me. I started thinking, my house isn't good enough. It's not pretty enough because we put the money into the bones. And, getting like when we record our podcast, should I be embarrassed about the way my house looks? And it's like, I'm like, why am I thinking this? This is the programming. And that's why we talked about it on our show, was because it's like, we need to stop that. We need to stop that way of thinking. And these people come out and they portray something that seems true, almost feels true. And they give just enough truth to make you dig into it and believe. And then it's like, but it's not true.
No, and I also have I was like, after Christmas, I was like, no more purchases off of Instagram because I get sucked in. And then also this person like, this is the greatest thing that ever happened to my skin. And I'm like, oh, maybe it'd be the greatest thing that ever happened to my skin. Now I have crap. But
like, I want that.
I know. I want
and then you get it and you're like, this is not good.
I'm like, oh yeah, she had 7 filters on, of course. And she's 20 years younger than me, of course.
Of course.
But yeah, that it hits everybody in a different way. And the thing that I noticed, and here's the thing, I'm Tommy and I taped our spiritual protection class, which will be out whenever, folks. I'm not sure when it's coming out soon enough.
I know, and I want to do that too. I'm like, oh, I'm so down for that.
Yes, it's great. And we just taped it. We haven't figured out the rest of the details yet. But there's, it's like when you say paranormal expert, there isn't really that's not really a thing, because it's just somebody may have had more experience. Tommy has the most experience of anyone I met, so he's my guy. I'm lucky to know him. But there was like, I noticed when they were talking about, this is the weirdest thing. There's 2 things. One of them is, this is the 5 things I wouldn't do as a psychic. Okay, good layout. I understand. I see everybody's doing it. Very interesting. Vets and all that. Good. I wouldn't put a welcome mat out on because it's inviting in demons. And I was like, no, it's not. And
that's not how it works.
That's not how it works. And then you see 10 other people with the same thing. And this is where I think something else is going on, because then it's like, did those other people just copy that? Because there is this thing where one person says something and it's okay to steal it. Like with comics, you don't repeat another comic's joke because that's stealing. And writing is the hardest part of comedy. People don't understand that. And so stealing jokes is not okay, but they're stealing other people's sort of sayings. That's one thing. But the other thing that people don't realize is there's paid accounts where there was this one girl, and I saw her, and she had a cap on. She goes, I was a victim of vegan propaganda. So this ad automatically, which is the dumbest statement, any nutritionist that says plant-based isn't right, just tell them to shut up, because it doesn't matter. It's the whole diet. It's not one thing. Okay. That's what, like, if you're eating meat and Pop-Tarts all day, I am definitely healthier than you. I don't know what your body is. You know what I mean? It's not
everyone's body is different. So
right,
what is good for you might not be good for me, because we're all different.
Exactly. So she goes on and starts this argument, and there's thousands of comments and shares. So a couple weeks later, I see this same girl as a different account, dressed really pretty, saying, these are the 12 things you have to do to not lose your man. And they're, of course, very submissive. So now that tape, same girl, same cadence, I can recognize her, she's a terrible actress, is gone viral for arguing. Oh, this poor girl thinks she has to do this. And then guys are like, yeah, you should just. And then it's like, you probably, if you're on there, you've seen the guy that goes, masculine men don't like, I don't know, submissive women. It's not a guy. He's out in the woods. It's somebody hired to start arguments.
And that's their job.
Yes.
And there are bots, and what they do is they create these accounts and they just regurgitate until it looks like enough different people are saying it to get people to believe it.
Right.
You know the saying, it's like, if you say it enough, it becomes true.
Yes.
And that's the problem. It's like, how do you know what true is? And that's why I have to go by, how do I feel? What feels right to me?
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped using the word believe, because when you use the word believe, you're kind of holding yourself to something where I might change my mind down the road. I might get newer, different information that makes me think and say, okay, so I try to go with how I feel. And that way, like, some things I believe in being a good person.
Yes.
But I'm not going to hold a belief that might cause harm to others or might put others down. It's okay to disagree and have a conversation. But when you hold beliefs, I mean, think about wars are started over beliefs of God. The wars back in the day, you're killing other people for your religious beliefs in God, whereas God says, thou shalt not kill. That's a little hypocritical, but it's a belief.
Yes. So, I actually have some jokes on everybody that they believe their God is right. But what's interesting, and this is something I want to do. I want to get pretty, because I'm not a detailed person. I can't tell you names or dates, or we were talking about that. I know voices and faces, but I want to become very familiar with only the words of Jesus. And even though I'm sure they've been changed through time, you know what I mean? Like that book's been edited so many times, but that is what I want to know out of the Bible, because I think a lot of real spiritual beliefs can either align with that or stem with that, like more so than the whole everything else. That's like, you're never going to hear Jesus say, gay people are going to hell or something stupid like that. It's not in there.
Yeah. It's like, but the thing is, they're taking these ideas and they're manipulating it to whatever works for them. And so again, what is truth? And it's really hard to know. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you have to go with what feels right for you.
And I think you're exactly right. In fact, maybe you can expand on if you have some ideas, because they are saying the time of the false prophet. But I also believe that attacks are going to go on everyone. There isn't going to be whatever, if you're Teal Swan, or now they're attacking Joe Dispenza. I don't know either of them. I'm not for or against either of them, but I'm watching this unfolding of where when someone says something, I go, is that true or is it not? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And
with something like that though, I'm the kind of person, I don't like falling into that. And I feel like the things I do, the person I am, my character should speak enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, you think about like, okay, well, as somebody puts themselves out there, you put yourself out there. You have a podcast, you're a comedian, you're putting yourself out there. I have a podcast. I do hypnotherapy. I do tarot readings. I'm on podcasts. I'm putting myself out there. And when you put yourself out there, you're at risk for people coming at you and saying horrible things about you.
And they do all the time on the comments,
yes.
especially on comedy on the comments, they do.
Oh, yeah. And it doesn't make it true. But at the end of the day, and this took a lot of time for me to work on myself, but to realize like I'm a good person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do intentional things to harm people. And my character should speak enough about me and the things I do. And those who don't want to find out or do the work to see the things I do, I don't care what they think.
Yeah.
I don't care what they say, because the people who know me, they know who I am as a person. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And so that's why like I don't really go on social media except like for my Twitter account, to like promote stuff and put positive stuff out there. And I've just lost that interest. I used to be on my phone all the time, scrolling through Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And then I was like, this is stupid. And I don't care.
Yeah.
And I just kind of let that go. And I think, again, self-care, which is going to come up, but you got to let stuff go. And, it's like, think about yourself. What do you need? And is this really helping you as a person?
Yeah, it's funny because I only read comments, I think like on my Instagram or certain posts. I will, you know what I mean? Where I'm interacting with nice people from Facebook or something. Mostly I'm off, but it bothers me because a lot of bookers work through Facebook or Instagram. And it's like, I can't keep track of 17 emails and Instagrams and stuff. But someone else put up a tape and it went viral, which is good. I want to put out comedy takes and have them go viral, have people enjoy them. But now all the comments come up and there's like 56,000 likes and comments. And so I get all that in my Instagram because I was tagged in it. And so sometimes it's like, in fact, I always think there's a lesson in that. When I get 3 or 4 negative comments from it, I'm always like, okay, what's the lesson? But mostly, I agree. And also, as someone who has had several tapes or tapes, how old am I? Clips go very viral.
Yeah.
They send trolls out with the same message that,
just like the bots, people are getting paid. There are like actors who get paid to do these things. There are crisis actors who get paid to be a victim. There's so much out there. There's so much deceit out there. So when we talk about those false prophets, those people, to me, those are just the actors. They're either being paid to put that information out there, or they're people whose egos got out of check. I saw somebody and they were first like, asking about tarot readings and doing tarot and reading it. And then they're charging like $100 a reading. And it's like, I look at it like capitalism. Good for you, man. But at the same time, like one of the things about myself personally, I don't like using the word psychic because I feel like I'm not as much in control about what comes through. So I'm worried about it. And I was realizing, I think part of it is myself keeping my ego in check, because it's just the kind of person I am, and I'd rather stay humble. And then you see people who just get a little taste of popularity, a taste of money, whatever it is that hooks them, and then they roll with it, and then they're just spouting all this stuff. It doesn't make it right or true.
Yes, and it's interesting because that happened quite a bit to the paranormal community. And as comedians are very rarely an overnight success because it takes so much work and you build an act and all these things. And sometimes if people have immediate success in comedy, they can also fall down because it's like being a doctor. You got to go to school. You got to do it for long enough. Yeah. But I think you do it long enough and then fame looks different. But there was, for example, with the paranormal community, there were people that were suddenly famous and it got very, especially since they weren't planning on being famous. They just stepped into something. So it can get very ego and tricky. And I will be honest with you, people don't understand. You may have had someone leave a negative comment here or there, but you don't understand when, like, all I want to do is make people laugh, and people attack everything, your looks. People are vicious. That's why you have to turn it off. And if you're not ready for that and you're suddenly kind of famous and you even read a couple comments, it can be devastating. Like I said, like I'm in that business, so it usually doesn't rub me the wrong way. I usually I usually don't see it. But I think also there has been this worship of people. Okay. And I'm just going to keep using her as an example just easily. But like I watched some of Teal Swan's tape, and you know what? She's got some great information. And that's as far as I go. I don't know anything about her retreat. I don't know if she's saying it, if she doesn't mean it, but she says it. But there's good information. That's all I'm taking. But we tend to put people on such a high pedestal, and then they believe it. In fact, what you were saying, I wonder, I cannot figure, I honestly believe, because I hate our government so much, I honestly believe that good people go there and then I don't know what happens. Because there were some people that were really fighting. I really believe started out that way and they got shut down, and they're just as bad as the right outliers now. And I don't know if they threaten them or if like fame and money really is that much of a thing. But I feel like, I just think when you were saying false prophets, I think it's going to be a lot of people. In other words, meet people halfway. Like, Karen's got a good podcast. Probably an asshole in traffic. But that's why I only listen to her podcast, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, so when I was a kid, I loved Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I'm like, that man can do no wrong in my eyes, and then the whole thing with the affair. And I'm like, yeah, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then it was like, it came out that like he had said about like with all like the COVID stuff and like how you need to get a vaccine and you need to do this or you're not an American or something like that. But it was just like, dude, you're from Austria. You better watch what you're saying because it's still a free country. And some people, maybe they can't get it due to health reasons. And you're basically ostracizing a group of people that you don't know and you know nothing about. And you're making them look bad. And I was like, I'm glad like I dropped all that, like the celebrity worship kind of stuff. I'm so glad I let that go because you kind of realize like people, like nobody's flawless. People have flaws. Nobody's perfect. And what you see is how they want you to see them.
There's a other thing too. I have a friend and he talks about Hollywood being within the deep state at the CIA. And I will be honest with you, maybe I don't know anybody that high up. I know a lot of high up people. I know a lot of famous people, but I don't know if I know, like, I think all those people did go to Epstein's Island, but did someone tell them they were going somewhere else? And they were like, now you're on the logbooks. Now you're going to do what we say. Like there's a million.
You don't know.
You don't know what happened.
And something like that. I'm sorry not to cut you off, but I could see them bringing people where nothing happens. There was nothing like that going on in front of them. And they're just doing some kind of charity fundraiser. So that way they can say, look at all these people.
Right.
And it gives the illusion that, oh yeah, like we're doing a charity. It's fine. So when you bring the seedy people in, you can put it under false pretense. It's like nobody really knows.
Right. Right. And I wonder, like, let's say I ran for office and somehow got in and then they said, listen, just you're going to do what we say or we're going to kill your sister. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what's going on. Enjoy, that kind of, I don't know.
Jesse Ventura came out when he became governor and he had said he was told, like, this is how it is. And you don't talk about this. You don't talk about this. You don't tell people this. And it's very like, so you don't really know, like you can walk in with the best of intentions, but you don't always know what you're getting yourself into. And again, that's why I say always go with your gut. Your gut tells you when something's right or wrong. It's just, are you in tune with it?
You just reminded me. I got to look for something. Jesse Ventura was actually, a wrestler, and but he was really on it. And that's the other thing with conspiracies. And this is where exactly what you're saying is, I think, is about to come into play, because I think I didn't do that many predictions on 2023, but I believe this is the year that we either kind of a peaceful revolution. And I tell people, I think the Civil War is not what we're thinking. It's not people dead in the street. It's support the truckers on strike, support the nurses on strike, support the power to the people.
Karen, and when you think about that, we've already been in a civil war.
Yes.
We've been in it. And I think so my reading, what my cards are telling me is something's coming, and people are going to realize that they've been deceived, and that's where the change is going to start coming. Yeah. But the problem is we're just going to get some of the truth, because they never really want to give us all of the truth. And so that's why, like in the earlier part of the year, we need to focus on self-care, because it's just, we've been through so much, and we're going to keep going.
And we're gonna I'm gonna take a break and come back to that. But it's so interesting talking to you, and also the this, because you and I read conspiracy theories, and we know they take an ounce of truth, which is Epstein's Island was about pedophiles, and then they throw it to QAnon. And they tell QAnon, blow this up, make it so that these people sound crazy, and they think that the pizza place is where Hillary Clinton's eating babies and blah, blah, blah. They take that. And so now they make it that if you were to say, yeah, there is a ring of pedophiles, you're a nutcase. So we're going
to give two truths and one false.
Right. And then we're going to really make fun of you for, I know politically Hollywood is the deep state. I'm not saying you don't work if you're conservative. I would say you don't say it, but I really, that's a different level, because I don't know, in comedy people are very open, but in acting most of them are not talking about politics at all. But I would say that you might get to a certain point where that might be true. I'm going to say might, but then again, even at my women's group where I work out, I bite my tongue half the time and just go, nope, not worth it.
Well, it's hard, because when you think about politics, I look at it right wing, left wing, it's the same bird.
It is. I totally agree with you. Right now when we're taping this guy has documents. Now Biden has documents, but Biden isn't as bad, because a friend started that with me, and I was like, they are all lying. No one should have these. I don't get why you're going to stand there and tell me why this one is better than this one. I'm not listening.
It's a distraction.
Yes. All right. We will be right back with self-care now that we got everyone's blood boiling for some. But Karen, I like Biden, but I like Trump, and I like, don't worry about it, folks. We're going to get you off the ledge with self-care in 1 second with my friend Monique. We'll be right back.
Many people are unaware just how much hypnotherapy can help them, or think it's only to help lose weight or quit smoking. But there is so much more hypnotherapy can do. It can help with stress, anxiety, insomnia, phobias, performance enhancement, connecting with your spirit guides and higher self. You can even discover past lives and your life between lives. Heal traumas, break habits, find your deepest truth, or just have fun discovering who you really are, all from the comfort of your home. I'm Monique Pliakos. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I want to help you. Schedule a free consult by going to www.innerstandingshypnosis.com. That's INNERSTANDINGSHYPNOSIS.com. Innerstandings Hypnosis. Find your power and ignite your inner light.
All right, everybody, we're back with Monique. And Monique, I loved this text message. Karen, I made a whole list of self-care. You tell us where to begin. You have my full attention.
All right. So I wanted to start with the free stuff, the easier free stuff, because I have different levels. The way I broke up my self-care is it's just different ideas of things that you can do that might work for you. So I have what's free. And then I have like a small splurge, something you do once in a while. And then are you familiar with Parks and Rec at all?
The show?
Yeah.
I know what it is. I haven't seen it though. No.
So there's two characters, Tommy and Donna, and they have a day of treat yourself. And it's basically you treat yourself to like, you want something big, then you go do it. So I've kind of broken it up into those three categories. Most of it's free. So right now we're going through so much with people. Money, everything is so expensive. We're working harder and getting less money. So I like free. And my dad had a saying, if it's free, it's for me. So here's some things that you can do for yourself for self-care. First thing, I always say this, take a bath. You can take a warm or a hot bath. You can put in Epsom salts or essential oils, or you can burn some incense. If you want to like put the lights down, if you want to listen to music, whatever is relaxing for you. And as far as essential oils go, depending on what you're looking to achieve, if you want to relax, you can do some lavender. You can do frankincense, sage, ylang-ylang. These different these different oils, essential oils, are good for relaxation. Or if you want to gain some energy, try something like lemongrass, rosemary, or peppermint. Though I will say, I tried taking a hot bath with peppermint oil, and I'm like, why is my skin tingling? Like my butt is like feeling cold and tingly. I'm like, oh my God, it's the peppermint oil. I didn't think of that. So if you do use something like a peppermint oil in the bath, just be warned, your skin will feel cold and tingly. And that's because that's the oil.
I'm going to add two things to that because I actually use a ton of peppermint oil. There's these little beadlets you can get from doTERRA, and they are unbelievable for your breath. They are so powerful, and they also wake you up. If I'm have a late night drive, I can do it. But and sometimes I rub it on my tummy. But you're right, you have to know. Like, I have forever been trying to make cinnamon perfume, but and thank you to some of the people that sent me some really good alternatives. But usually cinnamon burns the skin, and it's very hard burn cinnamon oil. So you have to figure out which oils are topical and which are not. And I have to tell you, it's really good. So I have had cysts on my head forever. And the doctor was like, no, you got to have them removed with surgery. So of course I used to poke at them for months until I ripped into my head and got them out.
I do the same thing.
Well, listen, I finally was like, what is there essential oil for this? And there is. And I don't know if this is because my system is so clean now from chemicals and I'm not eating sugar, but frankincense. And then I ordered a roll-on for $13, and it goes, because all those cysts is infection. Frankincense, it all goes right in and kills the infection. I've been doing it for 2 days. They're about half the size.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome. Oh, I love that.
So that was my essential oil thing. So you're absolutely right. Essential oils do work. Okay, keep going.
Taking a nap. We often find ourselves so tired, but just like a little toddler, we refuse to nap, even though our body is, also like a toddler, screaming for it. So I think it's okay to take naps if you need it. And so just find some time and say, I'm going to carve out some time. And whether it's a freestyle nap where you just fall asleep and wake up when you wake up, or set a timer and you do it for 10 or 20 minutes, whatever you have available. But if you do an alarm, I recommend using the kind of alarm that gently wakes you up instead of like the You want something that is softer and then gets progressively louder. So it's more of a natural way to wake yourself up.
Great point.
Another thing you can do for yourself is meditation. And you can take 5 to 10 minutes to meditate. One trick that I use when I'm super short on time is when I wake up in the morning, I'm still laying in bed. And I'm just like, I'm going to do a quick meditation. And I just allow myself to go in meditation 5-10 minutes. And then I come back up, and it allows me, it's for me personally, a really good way I start my day. So I think sometimes people don't think, oh, I'm in bed, I can meditate. I can do that. Or before you go to bed, or just at any point, 5 or 10 minutes. I was one of the people who had the mindset, oh, you have to sit for hours with your mind blank. And it's not that. You can do it in 5 or 10 minutes. And the more you do that, the longer, if you're not used to meditating, the longer you'll be able to meditate for. So when you do have extra time.
Yes, I agree with that. I think it's much faster. There was a tapping method too. All that stuff. Great. Keep going.
Okay. Affirmations. So I don't know how many people remember Stuart Smalley's daily affirmations from Saturday Night Live.
Uh-huh.
I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And doggone it, people really like me. But I think that doing affirmations, and especially before going to sleep, is a positive and healthy way to encourage yourself and promote mental wellness. And think about the things that you're good at, and then think about the things that you want to work on and write it out. So, for example, I'm good at helping others, but I want to work on feeling the need to not talk so much all the time. So I could say something like, I am a good person. I enjoy helping others. I don't need to talk whenever there is silence. So you turn it in a way that you make it positive for yourself. And that works. We do it. I do it. We do it with our kids before bed. And when you do it before bed, you're filling your mind with these positive things about yourself.
Wow.
And that's really, really healthy. And I always recommend have a journal, like write down how you feel. By doing these affirmations, do you notice a change? Do you notice a positive change?
So I have a great therapist, but I don't see her all the time. And I have to say, journaling, when I sit down and I go, why does this make me so mad? And then I just keep journaling, I get the answer myself.
Yeah. Like we have gratitude journals in our home and we write down what we're thankful for. So when we do get upset about something, we go to our gratitude journal too. So that's another journaling thing that is really positive for you to do. And something that I think many of us don't do is thanking yourself. I mean, think about it. How often do we thank ourselves for everything that we do, especially our mind and our body?
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's important that we thank ourselves and give ourselves credit when we accomplish something. And we can do this, when we're going through something difficult too. Because this not only helps build more positivity in our mind, but it brings our vibration higher. Our cells can feel that positive energy and respond. So it's great to be humble. I try to be a humble person. But when I've worked really hard, like I stop and thank myself. If I'm in pain, I stop and thank my body. I get migraines. I get migraines from stress, hormones, and weather. So anytime a storm's coming, I get a bad migraine. And I say, thank you. Thank you for doing your job. You're telling me something. And I know it doesn't feel good, but I know it's for a purpose. And I try to connect with my body and my mind and give gratitude. And when you start doing that, you'll notice a difference. It's just a mindset change.
I love that. And also, I'm reading this book that Tommy gave me. It's called Enochian Magic. I finally said it right. And one of the things they talk about is that no matter how you pray, how long you pray, what you say, you're opening up a consciousness to universe or God. It doesn't matter. Just doing that act is so like, thank you, or I love you. It's all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that you can do for self-care is read. I was never big on reading, but once I finally found a book that I really connected with, I started to realize I love reading, as long as it's something that brings me information and entertainment, of course. But you can try. Oh, go on.
I was just going to say, I started forcing myself to read 5 pages a day. I don't enjoy it, but it is doing something. So I do like that. I do like that one.
And you can try, a self-improvement book. Like when I needed to work on my boundaries as an empath, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm all in. And I got books on how to build boundaries. And it really helped me. I did something for myself. That's self-care. So whether it's something to help yourself or it's just something for fun, that is part of self-care.
Yes. I forget that all the time with the fun.
We got to have fun. And another thing that we need to do, like we all have to give ourselves permission. So we often make ourselves feel guilty about not wanting to do things. And it's so important to for example, give yourself permission to skip a night out with friends. if you don't feel like going. Or just say, fuck it, and buy that 8-inch cake that you want. You need to give yourself permission. You go in that bakery and you see that cake looking at you every time, and you're like, no, I have to be good. I have to be good. Sometimes you just have to give yourself permission to do what you want to do. And that's the difference between something unhealthy where you're just doing it all the time because you want to, and then saying like, I never do this for myself. I need this for myself.
Exactly. I love that.
And not letting the guilt get to you. That's the important part.
Yes. And if you're on a diet too, I know that it's different for everybody, but I think when you're on a diet, you can't say, I'm never going to eat cake again, or I'm never going to this or that, or like I quit sugar, but I didn't say I'm never going to eat sugar again. I said, I'm just going to, let me just do this for now. And then I'm sure there's going to be a cake or something where I'll break that.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's the thing. And that's like a contract you're making with yourself. And is that really a contract you want to make, knowing anything can happen in the future?
Right.
Yeah. Another thing for self-care is feel your feelings. How many times have you heard someone say something like, you shouldn't feel that way? I cringe when I hear people say things like that, because it's so important to allow yourself to feel your feelings. The key with that, though, is don't dwell on it. You don't want to let anything negative, just linger for too long, because then it becomes stagnant. But you need to allow yourself time to feel and process what you're feeling and why. Give yourself time to decide how you can turn something negative into positive, or, how you can learn and grow from it. Should you apologize to someone? Are you expecting too much from someone else that isn't really reasonable? You can't think about these things if you don't let yourself feel what you're feeling and get in touch with it. So if I say, Karen, you're a douchebag, and that hurts you, you're allowed to feel hurt by what I said. But then think about it. Well, why did she do that? Oh, because I laughed when she said her mom died.
Right.
Okay, I get that. Or like, I didn't do anything. Like, I now have to make the choice of reaching out and having a conversation, finding out why she feels that way. Or do I realize she's not really my friend and I'm just going to let it go?
And I didn't laugh at Monique's mom dying. I don't think her mom died.
No, she didn't.
It was such a funny but good example. And because I have the looping thoughts or the overactive mind, and I have a couple of suggestions for people. So number one is I kind of pick a joke in the morning, and if thoughts start to loop or I start getting myself mad at something, I will go, wait a minute, this time is better spent focusing on that joke. Do you have another tag? Do you have another punchline? And I carry a piece of paper with me that has what I'm working on that day. Another thing, if you just keep getting mad, and there's this weird mind game with looping thoughts where it's almost like you want to keep making yourself mad. Have you ever forgot something and been like, what was I mad about? I want to remember. Write it on a piece of paper and just go, okay, it's there. And then let it go. And so it's I know that's a weird psychological thing, and you can burn the paper or throw it away or just put it in your pocket, but go, I don't have to loop this thought because I put it here. Yeah.
I'll actually do a thing where I type out a text and then I delete it. But it's like, got it out. And now it's gone. I was able to say what I wanted to say, but as I think about it, I'm like, yeah, this isn't the hill I want to die on today. Right. So, so it's like, I'm going to let it go. But I get it out. I allow myself to do that. And I also, that's part of feeling those feelings and processing those feelings. Another thing that you can do is move, dancing, walking, exercising. When I was a teenager, up until my 30s, I went to punk shows and I would dance, I'd get in the pit, and it was great exercise. So if you're someone who does not enjoy exercise like me, try dancing.
And go ahead.
Go on.
Sorry. You're so smart.
No, you go.
I was going to say, or even better, buy a hula hoop.
Yeah.
It's very hard. I forgot how hard it is, but get a hula hoop, because I am very big on moving because I never sit still and I love exercise, but I will do the opposite and exercise too much. Get yourself a hula hoop or get something that you see online that you think looks good and do that.
Yeah. But think about it too. If you're listening to music and you're like, if you're going through something and you're not feeling great, or like you're not having the best day, put on music and just dance, and then realize how good it feels, and you're having fun. Using a hula hoop, that's fun. Like, you might feel silly at first, but they're like, okay, this is really fun. So it's not just about that movement, but it's about lifting your spirits as well. And walking, that's another form of exercise. That's not only good for your body, but it's a great way to get outside and connect with nature.
Yeah.
So when I lived in the city, I saw trees, squirrels. When I lived in Manchester, New Hampshire, I saw deer in the cemetery I'd walking, because it was surrounded by woods halfway. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I saw deer. I saw fox. I saw all these creatures. I would talk to the trees, and I got to connect with nature. So and again, even if it's like a 5 or 10 minute walk, get out and move.
Yeah.
And it allows you to clear your mind and process thoughts when you often don't have time to do that. It's your time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
leave the room.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Exercise is just such a good way to care for yourself.
Wow. Okay. Keep going, my dear.
Okay. Another thing is learn your worth. So I've come across so many people who don't know their true worth. They put themselves down, that negative self-talk. They allow themselves to be guilted by others and manipulated. And they allow themselves to get the short end of the straw in different situations. And a lot of that has to do with lack of boundaries. So part of self-care is setting healthy boundaries for yourself and others, but actually sticking to them. And by doing that, you need to know your worth. So you have to know how valuable you are to yourself and others. And I feel like this happens to a lot of moms. You get so stuck in the I'm taking care of everybody, you stop taking care of yourself. And pretty soon it's just like you become a servant. And it's like, no. You need to know your worth, know your value. And you need to realize all the incredible things that you do and give yourself credit. And more importantly, confidence by knowing your value.
That's so interesting, but I'm not a huge, I am a feminist, but I'm not a huge in your face, let's talk about it all the time thing.
Yeah.
But I think moms were taught guilt. They are supposed to feel. I can tell you, most of my readings is the mom asking about everybody, and then I'll go, "There's 5 minutes left," and they go, "Oh, what about me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you should." I think moms got punished and all kinds of stuff. So hats off.
And then they pass it down. It's like my mom would get guilted. She got the French Catholic guilt, and then she was so good at making my brother and I feel guilty, and I'm trying to break that cycle.
Yeah.
Oh God, the worst was, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the guilt. But it's like we got to break those cycles. So by realizing your worth, you feel less guilty about things. Like, no, I deserve to eat a hot meal and not feel bad about it because I worked hard to make it for myself and everyone. Things like that. Like it's part of boundaries, but it's knowing what value you have. And it's not about growing a huge ego, but it's for the people who don't have enough and they need to work on, realizing how important they really are.
Yeah. And, it's even like I don't know, I was just going to go off on a weird tangent there and I'm going to stop myself. But I do feel like, moms are really expected to be perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, women kind of are expected to do it all anyways and smile. But I feel like moms really, it wasn't my route, but God bless you all. I think there's so much. And even now where women are finding what they want to do, there's a very famous radio host who I try to avoid at all costs. And he's really mad that women under 30, half of them are not having children. And he says it's because they're programmed and it's because maybe they didn't want to have children.
I feel like that's a personal choice. And I respect, like, if you don't want to have kids, I have 3. That was my choice.
Yeah. And I think I would have been a bad mother. And the passion that moves people to have kids is the passion that moves me to wander the world.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, everyone is different. And I think that with that, it comes down to respect. And when you have strong boundaries, you're not going to be put off by people who think differently than you.
Right.
So, you can hold your own ground. So it's like if somebody says to me, well, nobody asked you to have 3 kids. It's like, you're absolutely right. I don't get offended by that when I say, oh yeah, I have 3 kids. It's like, yeah, it's a lot of work. They cost money, but it's like, I'm not playing victim. I'm just saying, yeah, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
Right.
And if people take offense to that, it's like, well, that sounds like a you issue and you're reflecting your issues onto me. And I'm not going to let that happen. So nice try. Good luck. I wish you the best.
Yes. I hope people don't make, I always thought it was the opposite, but I hope people don't make moms feel guilty. Do they? I mean, like that for having kids. Is that out there too now?
Oh my God. People have done that to me. Like, somebody I worked with before, I was just saying how exhausted I was. And they're like, well, nobody, asked you to have 3 kids.
Oh my God.
That was your own choice. And I was like, so shocked. I was like, I apologize if that is what you took from that. I wasn't complaining. I was just saying why I feel so tired today. Like my kid was up all night. I'm still here. I'm doing my job. I'm in a good mood. I guess maybe don't look as fresh as I usually do.
That's a weird leap though.
People are weird.
Yes, they are. That is a strange leap though. You didn't have to have kids. No. And you didn't have to go out drinking last night. What are you saying? Sometimes people are tired.
I know. It's like, okay, I didn't know this was some kind of contest or something. And again, that shows more about them. And we need to recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. One of the other things we touched on earlier is disconnect. Get off of social media. Turn off your phone. Turn off your TV. Throw your computer in the closet. Just step away from everything that connects you to work or anyone or anything that distracts you from your self-care, which in turn becomes self-care itself.
Right.
See what I did there?
Yes. Yay.
Give yourself a mental vacation. Anything that can trigger stress. If you're going on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram and you're feeling not good enough about yourself or you're getting angry about what you're seeing, put it away.
Mm-hmm.
I'll share a little something with you. When I was a kid, I was homesick one day and my dad went to go get me medicine. And I was home alone and I'm sick on the couch. I think I was like 10. And do you remember the ASPCA commercials? And it was like the programs that were like 30 minutes long for donations. And they talk about all the animals that were like abused that they've rescued.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, I self-tortured myself and I would watch that and it would just put me in a spiraling depression. And my dad came home after I was watching something and I am bawling hysterically. I'm hyperventilating. And my dad's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? He thinks I'm having a medical emergency. I go, they're so mean to the animals. And I don't know why they would be mean. Why did they hurt them? And my dad's like, oh my God, I thought like something was wrong. I had to take you to the hospital. He goes, why didn't you just shut it off?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you're caught up in that, it doesn't go in your brain. Just shut it off. So sometimes you need that reminder. Just shut it off. Walk away. Put it away. Do yourself that favor. That is self-care.
Yeah. And sometimes too, you start to think, well, nobody's taking care of them or who's giving money or I have to do it or something like that. And, I find that, okay, keep going. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. The last free one I have that I think you will agree with me 100% is to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
You know the saying, laughter is the best medicine, and it's true.
Yep.
Sometimes the easiest thing you can do is put on a funny show or a movie or comedy show and just laugh.
Yes.
I went through a period of time where I was in an abusive relationship. And the only thing that got me through that period of time, because I was in a depression, I watched Scrubs. And for that like half hour, it was like I felt good.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I didn't suck at life because, I was with somebody who we didn't have the word gaslighting. I wasn't familiar with it back then. Oh, such a gaslighter. But everything was my fault. And it was like, he's the kind of person like, it's the world against him. But when you're in that relationship, it's really hard. But I would put on that show and I felt good and I laughed and it allowed me to escape. And sometimes when you're in a situation, you just got to laugh. You have to whether you know or not, like, okay, I need to do something about it. When you can't really do something in that moment, give yourself time to laugh.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. You know what I did yesterday? I was flying Southwest and I had 6-hour layover, and I asked this one woman if she could change it for me because they screwed up my A list, which is they're fixing it, but I didn't have it. And she's like, no. And then I was like, I'm going to try. And I went down to the gate and I was like, I got to make the gate agent laugh. And I go to her and I told her the whole story. And I go, now that's what the lady up at the other gate said. But as I was walking here, I was thinking, there is a way smarter agent at C13. I just knew it. And now I get here and look, you're even better looking. And she starts laughing and she put me on the plane I wanted to go on.
And there you go.
Yes.
And sometimes it's just about being nice. And, you were honest too. Yeah, well, I was told this, but, so that works. It's awesome.
But I like you better.
Yeah. My energy gravitated more towards you. I feel more connected to you because you're awesome like me. But yeah.
Exactly.
So I'm going to go to the small splurges that we can do. It doesn't have to be every day or every week, but maybe once a month, every 3 months, even twice a year. And it doesn't cost a ton of money because, again, you're investing in yourself. Mm-hmm. So massage. Mm-hmm. Physical touch is so important. And as human beings, we actually crave touch. And I don't mean that in a sexual way. I just mean from person to person. Yep. And think about like hugging, how good hugging feels. It's nothing sexual. It's just that physical connection. So massage not only soothes our need for that physical connection, but it does it in a healing way. So we put a lot through our bodies, and stress also takes a physical toll, as does anxiety. And so when you get a massage, you're getting that physical touch, but you're also getting healing for your body and relaxation. And when your body starts to relax, your mind can start to relax.
And there is so many healing benefits to massage. And we always think of massage as a luxury, but it really is important to our health.
It is. It really is.
I'm going to add a little something to that. Yeah, so I at one of my exercise classes, the lady taught us to use this thing called a gorgeous ball, like core and gorgeous. And it's a blue ball, and you don't blow it up all the way. It fits in your hand, and it's squishy. And as you have sore muscles, you lay on it and you let it roll back and forth. And it massages the fascia underneath as though you're getting a massage. And it's $13. And so gorgeous, folks, CORE, and then gorgeous. And I'm sure there's videos on it, but it is something good to do for your body inexpensively.
And just to throw out there with what you said, the fascia, what happens with our body is a lot of those aches or pains is actually your fascia, and it has to get broken up. So when you get like somebody, like I used to go to physical therapy, and they would work on a part of my body and they dig in and it hurt. And you're like, oh, I want to stab you in the face right now. You're hurting me. But after a few moments, you're like, oh my gosh, it feels better because you got to work on that. And so again, massage therapists, like they feel that and they work on it and they are helping you.
Yep. Yeah. This podcast, by the way, today, everyone, this podcast is about 5 hours long. Go ahead. I'm going to stop interrupting.
Reiki. Another form of healing comes by Reiki. So I personally use Reiki in my hypnotherapy for clients when it's needed, but it can be used so many other ways, and it can be in person or remote. So that's just something else, that energy healing that can be done, and it is very beneficial. Another thing that I'm really big on is therapy, because as a therapist myself, and I'm going to insert my, shameless self-promotion here.
Go ahead.
But, hey, understanding hypnotherapy. But I think that therapy is very healthy. And I will say that hypnotherapy has shown to actually help clients a lot faster than conventional talk therapy. However, If hypnotherapy is not your thing, there are so many other forms of therapy. There's talk therapy, NLP, which is the neuro-linguistic programming. I can't say that very well, so don't ask me to say it 3 times fast. But there's play therapy, sound therapy. There's so many different kinds of therapy. So it's just a matter of finding out what feels best for you. And I do want to put it out there. Take the time to do research, find something that's good for you, that you feel comfortable with, and then take time finding a therapist that is right for you. Many offer free consults, which is actually an opportunity for you and that therapist to see if you'd be a good fit together and how that therapist can help you. So if you have a chance for a free consult, ask questions. Talk to them. How do you feel talking to that person? You want to make sure they're compatible with you. So with therapy, that is important to do when looking for a therapist.
And then, and you can watch famous like Gabor Mate or people that are just talking about stuff that can go on YouTube and watch somebody talking about what you're having trouble with.
Exactly. Absolutely. And the last small splurge thing I have is attend a weekend retreat. Now, all the things so far that I've recommended, I have done myself. And one of the things was I did a weekend retreat. It was a women's retreat. I don't like to leave my family. And I'm not typically someone who enjoys being around other groups of women because in my past, I was always the one getting picked on. I was always the one feeling left out. So, the girls' sleepover parties, it was like I'd be the one getting made fun of. So I was always very guarded. So I decided to step out of my comfort zone and attend a women's spiritual retreat up in Maine. I only knew one person who would be there, and she was actually co-running it. So it's not like we were just going to hang out the whole weekend. So I left my family. First time overnight I ever left my family. I drove over 3 hours away to Maine, and I had an amazing time. Great. So sometimes it's really important to step out of our comfort zone and do something that we know will benefit us. So if there's an opportunity to go do something for yourself for a weekend and it sounds cool, but you have all these comforts that you're afraid to step away from, just do it. Just try it because it's going to be nervous. You're going to be nervous and uncomfortable, but if you give yourself permission to embrace the experience and be yourself, you won't have to worry. You're just going to have fun and you're going to forget about all that stuff.
And you're going to love the last part of this podcast with my last guest. So go ahead.
I can't wait to hear it. So now we're talking to treat yourself. These are the big splurges. So we can't do this all the time unless you have a lot of money. And if so, good for you. Yeah. But sometimes you just need to treat yourself. 1, take a vacation. There are so many Americans who only receive 2 weeks of vacation a year, and that is not enough. No. And what's worse is that a lot of them don't even use their vacation time. So whether you have the time available or not, we all need breaks. We need to disconnect from work and sometimes even, the quote unquote real life that we're living. So depending on what you enjoy doing, you can have a staycation where you stay at home. But if you do that, it's not about getting things done around the house and cleaning and doing projects. It's about relaxing and doing things for yourself. Excellent. You want to use the time for yourself. And if it's a loved ones or your family with you, enjoy that time of being together or just not having to worry about anything. And then other ideas that you can do, go on a cruise. Most cruises are all inclusive, or go to a resort that's all inclusive, or go drive out in the middle of nowhere and stay in a cabin, whatever works for you, but take a vacation.
Yeah. And, I'll throw this last thing in. Sometimes with cruise ships, this is how it used to be. I'm not sure, but you used to be able to get on the email list. And what would happen was 2 weeks before the cruise, if it's not full, they would send out unbelievable specials, down from 1,000 to 300.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jump on that. And if you stay with a certain cruise line, most do a reward system. So by your second cruise, you might be able to get an earlier check-in on the cruise. And then the more you cruise, you get upgrades. So you might have a regular room and get upgraded to a suite. You know what I mean? So there's all these different things that depending on what you do, if you make it routine, like, every 2 years, I'm going to take a vacation, you can find a way that it actually benefits you financially.
Perfect.
The other thing I have is education. So I think it's important that we do things for ourselves that help us and that we can enjoy, and take a class. And I don't mean like go to college or something like that, but you could take an art class, a dance class, learn how to play an instrument, whatever you think is fun or interesting. So like for me, I had extra money after I was in a car accident, and I decided to sign up to learn how to wrestle.
Oh,
So
neat.
I went to wrestling school, and that's how I met my husband.
Oh.
But yeah, but it's just about like doing something for yourself to learn how to do something you don't know how to do. So, and it could be going back to school and getting a degree that you didn't complete. So education, learning to do something is self-care. And I have 2 things left. The second to last thing is doing a spa day. And I'm not talking about going somewhere and getting like a mani-pedi. I'm talking about an all-day spa. You spend the all day there. You drink water with cucumber or lemon in it, or if you want champagne or wine, get a massage, get a mani-pedi, get a facial, get a seaweed wrap, whatever else your body, mind, and soul need. Spend the day or weekend just getting pampered and relaxing.
Exactly.
And then the last thing I have, and I've done just about everything on the list except for this last one, but you can go on a walkabout, kind of. So historically in Australia, the Aborigines would take a spiritual journey during their adolescence to help transform them into adults. The journey requires the young person to travel alone, living and surviving in the wilderness, and it could take up to 6 months. And while most people don't look at that as something they would enjoy, the point of it isn't really to find pleasure, but to find yourself and grow. So there are ways you can take the concept of a walkabout and turn it into something manageable for most people. So some people get sabbaticals, but if you can take off like a couple of weeks or even a month from work and travel somewhere, there are beautiful places all over where you can travel. You can have a guide and you can learn about other cultures, customs, and have a spiritual experience. So you won't be alone and you won't need to fend for yourself, but you're going to be on a journey that can push you out of your comfort zone and give you the opportunity to learn, grow, and transform. So I do want to say with that, anytime you do something like that or plan anywhere, especially out of the country, use caution and fully research any trip like that,
Yes.
To make sure, or if you're going to go out in the woods and go camping for a week, make sure you're properly prepared and you do your research so you don't put yourself in a dangerous position.
I love it. I love it, Monique. These are fantastic.
Thank you. I hope something I said resonated with your listeners and they find a way to take time for themselves.
Absolutely. Now tell everyone where they can find you, where they can listen to you, where they can be hypnotized, all those things.
Absolutely. If you are interested in hypnotherapy with me, you can go to my website, www.innerstandingshypnosis.com. I do tarot readings. I make organite, incense, candles, all fun stuff. If you're interested in that, it's www.tarotbymonique.com. And I have a podcast, the Homewrecker Podcast with my husband, Alex. And we took a little hiatus as we were living in a tent over the past 7 months. And now we're back and we've started recording again. You can check out the website, homewreckerpodcast.com, or just look up Homewrecker Podcast and here's anywhere there's podcasts.
And it's wonderful. Well, thank you, Monique.
Thank you, Karen.
Always great talking to you. And folks, hold on one second. We will be right back.
Hi, my name is Ashley, and Prithvika is my collection of consciously created crystal and nature forged jewelry. Prithvika translates to of the earth in Hindi, which represents the natural earth-made materials I'm working with, along with my personal ancestry and grounded energy. Each piece is created through ceremony and science and completed with being Reiki charged. I'm currently featuring copper mirror necklaces, which can be used for protection and mirror magic. My intention is for your new piece of jewelry to feel like an extension of self, to help bring your desires to fruition and to amplify the magic within you. My Instagram is @Prithvika and my website is prithvika.com. That's PRTHVIKA. HVEEKA.com.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the third half. My friend Lauren Lovett is here with me, and this is the perfect sort of segue. I had Monique on first talking about self-care, and she said, you should go to a retreat. And I was like, well, listen to my third guest. Lauren, I'm going to let you explain, because I put you, you do so many different things, and I'm going to put you under the category of coach, and then I'm going to say, tell me all the different kind of coaching that you do.
Oh my gosh. Well, first let me say thank you so much, Karen. I adore you. You are a light in this world. And I'm so happy to just be able to talk to you outside of our sessions, because I come to you, every few months for guidance through tarot and through your own spirit and heart. So I send you so much love, and I'm so honored to be able to talk to you now.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you.
About things that we care about. Yeah. So coach is sort of the umbrella, but the extended dance remix of that is that I am a coach for artists, which to me, artist creative is how you feel in the world and in your body. So it doesn't mean you have to be on a TV show or you have to have a gallery showing next month or anything like that. You don't have to have your photos in Vogue. It's really how you feel, how you see the world. And I find that I'm better for people that feel that they are artists walking around. There's a shamanish thing going on for me and for them, I think. So I coach them to get more embodied, and maybe that's freeing the voice, or maybe that's, getting in alignment with the body through the Alexander technique, or things like that. I'm also a consultant for intimacy and consent culture for shows, TV, theater, and also companies as far as EQ, emotional intelligence. And then along with that, I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner, certified in that, took the training and practicing for several years. And that's processing trauma through the body, which is kind of tied into all the other things. Does that have any clarity to it at all? Or am I just
not only does it, but it's a great because you do plan retreats, and you actually, I think you have 2 coming up this year, right?
I do.
So and people know I believe that art, I'm just going to call it art, and that could be anything, like you said. We're not saying just paintings or just this or that. Art is how guides are integrating. Art and creation is how our guides are integrating our messages. And so this, like, retreat, in other words, you encompass all of your skills, and when someone to help them open up their creativity. So for someone who is like, I don't even know what I want, this is a great place to start, isn't it?
It's a great place to start as far as the retreat goes. And we'll talk a little bit more about what is a retreat, what defines a retreat, at least in my heart. And also, like, well, what will I get out of it if I go, if I spend the money and I take the time, what's it all about, Alfie? You know what I mean?
Yes.
But for me, it's about your soul thread. So we have these, it's sort of like you're born into, and of course, past lives and even ancestral wisdom and vibrations all come into it. I'm all about, my 2 favorite chakras are the 2nd and the 5th, which align a lot with the cranial sacral thing. So it's about your creativity down in the pelvis and your expressed creativity through the voice. So, I have these 2 retreats that I'm having. One is March 30th to April 2nd, and then the other is April 20th to the 23rd. So they're not exactly back to back, but they're in that spring season. They are all about being more embodied and listening to your inner voice. So the first one is sort of like more of a soul boot camp. Like, we go into silence for 24 hours. And I was thinking, Karen, the other day, and I know you have friends who have some social anxiety, especially now, coming out of COVID, or sort of still making our way through. Like, we've become a little bit isolated. And I know there are a lot of people that are experiencing this feeling of like, well, I want to be connected. I want to be out there and social, but I'm having a lot of anxiety. And for me, the first retreat, because there's this 24 hours of silence and then every morning is in silence, it's really time for you to be private, but in community at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
That is so interesting. And I don't want to say hard because it's not hard, but it's being so aware. And I knew someone that did a whole week of that or something like that. And it's, first of all, I also want to add empaths that are having trouble right now.
Oh, yes.
This is
phenomenal. And HSPs. HSPs.
What's HSPs?
Is hypersensitivity.
Oh, yes.
A person with
yes.
which you may be. I think a lot of clairvoyants are.
Yeah.
You're just aware of like the temperature in a room, the volume of things. You can really, it's like your skin, you have this layer of openness and availability to both spirits, but also like, what's in the room, what are the energies in the room. And it becomes really exhausting.
And it's getting a little bit worse. I was just in a hotel in Florida and it was I really couldn't sleep in the hotel and it was a whole mixture of things. It was very strange. And I usually don't have that trouble. A side note, when you come out of like we'll say it's a little more than 24 hours since it's the next morning too, of silence.
Yeah.
Do people feel extremely calm? Like what's the
I would
feeling?
say, you know what? It's funny because there's a range. Like there was this woman that came who was, I just turned 52 today. And
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. And she was up around my age. We had people from 22 to 52 at the one last year. And she is one of those people that is just busy all the time, always going, just falling into bed at night and waking up with like many alarm clocks, just exhausted and busy. And after that first full day, she came out of it laughing. And she said, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how long the day is. Do you know what I mean? Like how much time there is when you don't, like we don't have any phones. There's nothing to watch. You can journal for sure. And you can walk around. We're in the desert. So you can walk around the property and notice nature and the nuance of nature because it's the desert. So it's not this like thick forest or anything. It's very open. And she was just like, and she sat and she journaled and she walked around. We have a pool. We have a heated pool and an outdoor shower. So there's lots of things for your body to do. And we do programming in the yoga studio and we have a tea circle. We do all this, a sound bath, all kinds of things for your body and your spirit. Yeah, it's really, it's meant to be rejuvenating. And even like when she came out of the sun, she was just laughing. She was like, I can't believe how long the day is.
Well, we forget how much nonsense. I'll start a story with my sister or my parents, and then I'll be like, you know what? What are you doing? You're spewing stuff out for you, not talking. So that must just it must really be, I would say, phenomenal and probably shocking for people to do that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I think that, that retreat is for people socialized as women, so also non-binary, because that first, embodied retreat, I think as people socialized as women in our culture still, we're sort of asked to be available to everybody's problems and stories and stuff.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like
yes.
When I first moved to LA and I was still acting, it was like you'd go to an audition, you'd be in the bathroom, you'd be in the waiting room for your agent or whatever. And inevitably you would hear 1,000 stories about, oh, my mother's sick, or, oh, I have, an eating disorder, or, whatever it is. And it's like, oh, and you want to be compassionate and listen. But by the end of the day, you're like, I'm carrying all of these other stories with me and I don't know how to let it go.
Yes.
That happens with empaths all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how can we refresh ourselves and create more bandwidth so that we can have compassion? Like really, not just compassion, like a hashtag compassion, but really listening and really caring
Yes.
about what someone else's experience is. Do you know?
Without fixing.
Right. Without fixing. Even as a coach, my foundational methodology or my spiritual hypothesis about this stuff is that you know you better than I ever will, or anyone. You know you, and then there's so much about you don't know because it's in the unconscious, which I think is what tarot helps us bring to the surface, among other things.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not coming in to like, oh yeah, I know the way, so follow me, or oh yeah, I'm going to use these intervention tools, or I'm going to do all this stuff to you. It's like, no, I'm sitting with you, and I'm here to notice things, and like, let's talk about it, or let's feel through it. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's a dialogue, and I'm there to ask you questions, to mirror some things, and also to notice and say, well, I just noticed that. What does that feel like? Do you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that you can begin to develop this like refined understanding of not only like your outward behaviors, but your inner sensation. That's really what somatic experiencing is based on.
You know, it's such an interesting thing because I know people have probably always needed this kind of thing, but I feel like right now where there's this weird like after shutdown, there is a real spirit evaluation going on right now because everybody is asking what's my purpose or what should I be doing, and I do believe that our soul is now moving to the place where if you're not in 100%, it's going to feel awful. Like the jobs that people are just doing to get by, or the jobs they don't quit because they don't want to lose the money. Those are
the new quiet quitting. Have you heard about that? The quiet quitting.
Yes, I think
I'm not quitting entirely, but I don't give a lot of shits about it. I don't know if I can
right.
say shit, but
yes. Oh, no, that is. But you can see it when you go somewhere and you're trying to get help with something, and it is all, you know, I'm sure no one wants to be a dollar store clerk, but you might have a family and you get to see your family because you get to work these hours. That's a different finding joy in a different space. But for people that really don't know, it's a trying time for them.
Yeah. And it feels like, you know, what you're saying sounds like a kind of abandonment of ourselves, but it's not, it doesn't feel like we chose to abandon ourselves. It's just kind of like, it's so overwhelming what has been happening in the world and in nature too. You know, we just had huge storms in California and there's more to come. Landslides, people have lost their lives, just as one example. And there are many, many, many examples. And it's sort of like we've abandoned ourselves, and that, and again, not necessarily a choice, but that's what it feels like. It's like, I don't know myself. I don't know what to do. And I don't know what my sort of sacred service is in this world, my sort of to do, you know what I mean? And I don't mean busy to do, but I mean, like, I do believe part of my spiritual hypothesis is that we are here to do something. And it's like our superpower, sort of.
Yeah.
You know? And so, like, my spiritual practice is every day letting people know, serving people, doing what I know how to do, which is, or I hope I do, is helping people reconnect with their sacred inner power. Yeah. However that is. And it's different for everybody. You know, and if I do something towards that every day, I write about it. I connect with my own power inside by, you know, having my altar and lighting candles and doing yoga or whatever. Or I'm even posting a video on Instagram, as silly as that seems. That's part of my spiritual practice. Do you know what I mean?
and that's another one of those things where, and this is a weird analogy that I'm jumping to, but it's like in comedy, you put out a special or something, and my first special, and no one watched it, and then the company that put it out became huge, and now everyone watched it. So it's like, it wasn't a like, oh, why did I do that? It's like, sometimes these things take time, and you may be putting up 1 million Instagram things, and then you pop, and all of a sudden everybody sees the message they need to see. If you know, or maybe one person in the universe needed to see that message, and you did it.
Yes, exactly. And like you said, you can't account for the timing. Just like in tarot, whenever you do readings for me and my husband, you'll be like, hey, this is a kind of the time, but it could be, within the 6 months or, I mean, time is a construct. Mm-hmm. We made that up. The calendar, time, hours in a day, that's all made up. We just agreed, okay, yeah, sure, it's 12 o'clock. You know what I mean?
How we move through our karma affects time and that kind of stuff too. Because we know in paranormal investigation, it's sometimes you think, oh my God, this spirit has been stuck there for hundreds of years. Well, where they are, that might be the blink of an eye.
Yes, 100%. Totally. That makes me think of Kindred. That's a great book by Octavia Butler. That's on Hulu right now. There's a series that just makes me think of the time difference because she goes back in time, and for her, it's like a year, and in our time, it's like a few minutes, half an hour. It's just interesting to play with that.
I love that. Okay, so you put all these things together, and and obviously people. I kind of want to say you probably turn into a community by the time it's over.
Yeah. I mean, it's very small. It's very limited space because we're on a property. So there's really only like 8 to 10 participants. So you get a lot of care. And that is part of what we are there for, is both in the embodiment and the Pam Rose retreat, which is called Desert Nights right now, because she's deep into astrology, as well as being a country music singer-songwriter and delightful human and part of the queer community. Pam Rose, I'm sure some of your folks out there have heard of her because she's world-renowned. She's incredible.
Oh, that's
Force
right.
of nature.
Pam Rose, that's your partner.
Well, for the Pam Rose retreat for Desert Nights, which is the one in April 20th to 23rd, she's my partner in that. So I'll be doing some somatics. I'll also be making all the food and kind of being the sacred hospitality for us for that one. Whereas the first one is more towards the artist and the silence and the sort of deep dive reconnection inside. With Pam, she has this whole astrology thing, and we've got a telescope, and we're also, for that one, we're going to Integratron, which is a place in the desert, which is an immersive sound bath in this special dome building. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty incredible.
Can you believe I have never been there?
Oh, Karen.
Right?
Oh, Karen, you have got to come out here and go. 100%.
It's just supposed to be like almost, you almost feel like you're going through a portal when you're in there.
Yeah, you really do. Because of the acoustics, and it's family owned, and it's like no other experience.
Wow.
100%.
All right. So they, and people can go to both because they're not.
They can go to both. No, they're not the same. They're going to be different. I will be the only crossover is me and the property, which is called Cactus Moon. Again, that's in sort of Joshua Tree, the high desert in California with all the Joshua trees. So, and like I said, there's a huge pool, outdoor shower, and we make all the plant-based food ourselves, I guess, because not just me. It's a beautiful place to be. And as soon as you arrive there, when you allow yourself to really arrive, it feels different than your regular life. And that's what retreat is all about. Going to a place, I think, in the beauty of nature, where there's the opportunity to be in silence and in quiet so that you can actually hear your own voice, not the old stories, not what you're supposed to be, not what your mother is telling you, not what, it's your natural voice, your sacred voice, your inner power. That's what we're talking about.
That's so, all right. I love this. That is so, it's almost like also not having the responsibility every minute of the day to be like, I don't have to cook. I just have to be here. And I have to think about this.
That's right.
This is really just amazing. I once went on a yoga retreat, which wasn't there was a little even with something not being right there with the leaders, it was still so valuable. And now I know you're leading this, so it's going to be right. Tell everyone where they can find it, where they can contact you if they want more information or if they want it. Want in. Tell everybody everything.
Well, we have a special retreat website. So it's desertwitchretreats.com.
I already love
That's my
name.
retreat site. Yeah. Well, that's my IG handle is Your Desert Witch, since we're out here in Joshua Tree. Just went to the country kitchen for breakfast. Oh my gosh. So when you come out, you can go there the day before or for lunch, because on each retreat you end around noon on the Sunday. You start in the afternoon on Thursday and you end at noon on that Sunday. So going into JT and having some food and just like processing is really fun too. And also there's Joshua Tree National Park, of course. I don't even need to mention that, but it's desertwitchretreats.com and you can see both of them. And I have bios on, if you click the embodiment retreat page or Desert Nights retreat at the Cactus Moon, you'll see my bio along with all the other mentors we have for the embodiment. We have a Kundalini yoga gal who I am in love with. And then we have my other witch mentors. And I know you're like, witch, let's stay away from that. And I mean it.
No,
quotes.
I mean, not.
I think I mean it in quotes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not doing dark arts.
Right. You're not, no one's being burnt at the stake or we're not boiling over a cauldron. I totally get what you mean.
Not at all. Or burying like placenta in the dark and the full
digging
moon.
up
we're not
bodies.
doing any of that. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be weird if I sent everyone to a retreat? It was really good, except when we were in the graveyard digging up loose fingers. That didn't work so well for me.
Exactly. That wasn't so great. That was not so great. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, it sounds so fantastic.
I'm so glad.
I know. I can't wait. I hope I can make one in 2024. I hope I can get out there.
Oh, yes. Because I know you have things and family to tend to right now. So that's why we have these every year, because I've had people sign up and then have to defer for a year, or they said, oh, I wish I could. And at the last minute, we happen to have one spot left and someone slides in there like the week before and it's just exactly what they need.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, everyone go and check out my friend Lauren's retreat. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to hear about it after. And happy birthday, my friend.
Oh, thank you. And thank you so much, Karen. I'm so honored to be on your show. I love your show so much.
Anytime. I believe in everything you do. So this is going to be great. So
thank you so much.
You got it. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. There's Paranormal Karen paraphernalia on my site. There's a cute beanie that I'm going to get for myself. You would think I own my own stuff, but I don't. It's on a site. And we'll see you on the Patreon. Everybody have a great week. Paranormal Karen. She's a spooky kind of queen. Paranormal Karen. She's an angel without wings. Comedian, ghost hunter, conscious exploring. She's a funny gal and a real woo pal. She's Paranormal Karen.